Will council please come to order? And will the clerk please call the roll?
Anderson?
Present.
Oliver?
Here.
Ward is absent. Hager-Smith?
Here.
Mattingly?
Here.
Sutphin?
Here.
Watson?
Present.
We'll begin tonight with our consent agenda, and that has approval of town council minutes for April 1 and April 8. We have an agreement for professional services with Wetland Studies and Solutions, Inc., and our action there will be to authorize the town manager to sign the agreement. And similarly, we have an agreement for professional construction, engineering, and inspection services for infiltration and inflow abatement. And we will authorize the town manager to sign that agreement. What is council's pleasure on the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Oliver?
Aye.
Hager-Smith?
Aye.
Mattingly?
Aye.
Sutphin?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
We have no public hearings this evening, but I'd like to begin with a proclamation on this Earth Day, and that is to do with National Bike Month and Bicycle Safety Month. Whereas Blacksburg citizens have expressed strong support for expansion of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure and amenities, whereas Blacksburg's road and trail system are used and enjoyed by thousands of bicyclists each year, both for recreation and commuting, whereas Blacksburg is pleased to support the creation of a regional bike share program that will serve residents and visitors alike, whereas creating bicycle-friendly communities has been shown to improve citizens' health, well-being, and quality of life, to boost community spirit, to improve traffic safety, and to reduce pollution and congestion. Whereas bicycling activities and attractions have great potential to have a positive impact on Blacksburg's vibrancy and to stimulate economic development by making the community attractive to businesses and citizens who enjoy the outdoors and healthy lifestyles. Whereas Blacksburg's bicycle master plan, climate action plan, and comprehensive plan all support land use and transportation policies that will continue to improve the safety, convenience, and accessibility of bicycling for people of all ages and abilities. Whereas for the past 69 years, the month of May has been declared and recognized as National Bike Month. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Leslie Hager-Smith, Mayor of the town of Blacksburg, do hereby observe the month of May as National Bike Month and Bicycle Safety Month, and recognize the week of May 12 to 18 to be a week-long celebration of bicycling in Blacksburg, and urge residents and visitors to support and participate in the bicycling events planned and share the road safely. That is the end of that proclamation, and now we will continue to the portion of our agenda that includes citizen comments. And I think I see some citizens here tonight who may wish to speak. And I'd like to invite you forward. We have a little stoplight here, and the manager will hit the button when you begin to speak, and it'll go green, yellow, red, and when you're on yellow, it's about to end, and when you're on red, your time is up. And if you'll start with your name and your address, that will help us.
Good evening, esteemed council members. My name is Aditya Khanna, and I'm a resident of Apartment Heights Drive. I'm a graduate teaching assistant with the maths department. Last semester, I taught a course, and Franklin Zhang was a student in my class. As you all are aware, Franklin passed away on March 29th in a road accident. From the version I heard, Franklin was standing at the bus stop when one of the vehicles, a truck, flipped and led to this unfortunate occurrence. Franklin, without exaggeration, was one of the best students I've ever had. He was a freshman, but his curiosity about mathematics extended way beyond his years. He would ask me questions about cryptography, number theory, and combinatorics in office hours. And as a researcher in combinatorics, I always had a soft spot for him. He was very friendly, respected by his classmates, and some of his jokes still make me smile. It saddens me that such a wonderful student, friend, and an inquisitive mind was taken away from us so unfairly. I do have a crazy anecdote to share. Fate plays twisted games. On 14th of February, I was having a horrible day and I had to go for an appointment at the CRC. I saw Franklin at the bus stop. I said hi, and my brain was all foggy. I got on the bus with him. He told me he was taking Introduction to Proofs and was planning to take more mathematics courses in the future. He was a math major in the making, which is a pretty rare sight. Franklin got off the bus, and the bus circled back to campus, and then I realized I had taken CAS instead of CRC. I cursed the fates, and I canceled my appointment. Just by accident, that was the last time I saw Franklin. And I can only think how lucky I was to have seen him at all. I'm not good at processing my grief, and the only way I know how is to convert it into action. Firstly, I do want to raise a point that I have not seen discussed yet. Franklin was an international student, a demographic that is less likely to have cars, more likely to be standing at a bus stop, and at the mercy of barreling hunks of metal. As an international student myself, this scares me. I would request the Council to enact their new plans for road and traffic safety with utmost urgency and priority. We, as a community, need to make sure that there are no cars fast enough in the future to rob Virginia Tech and the world of a brighter future. I would like to thank the people who came out here to support today, and I would like to thank the Council for their time. Please stay safe.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during citizen comments? Okay, seeing none, we will go on to a couple of other items, but I hope that you will stay for a presentation that we're going to have on Prices Fork Road. Thank you. That would be great. Unfinished business. Do we have any? New business, and this is when we will have a staff presentation on Prices Fork Road speed limits and studies.
And our engineering and GIS director, Carolyn Howard, will provide that presentation, and she'll cover some of this. But we, as you all know, we're planning on lowering speed limits in sections of downtown this summer. Council took action on that just here recently in the last couple of months. So there was a package of streets, Main Street, and some of the downtown streets that we're doing that on. Prices Fork Road is one that we're going to look at also for this summer. But we have a study that Carolyn will talk briefly about that was going to study the entire section of Prices Fork Road from the roundabout all the way out into the county. When we last spoke to you about speed limits, we were going to wait until that study was done to evaluate Prices Fork Road. The tragic accident after that happened, we said, you know what, let's look and see, is there anything we can do more in the short term as soon as this summer, instead of waiting on that larger study to be done. So that's what Carolyn is going to talk about today.
Good evening. Yes, I'm here to talk about Prices Fork Road and studies that we've done in the recent past, as well as what we are doing today to look at the potential of reducing the speed limits on Prices Fork. As noted, we've had several studies along Prices Fork within the town boundaries. 2016, we had a speed safety study from University City Boulevard to Toms Creek Road. And out of that study, we implemented new signal timing for pedestrian crossings, allowing for longer times for pedestrians to cross. And we confirmed that the removal of the at-grade pedestrian crossing at Webb Street was indeed a good idea to remove. In 2017, we continued on with a safety and mobility study from town limits to Main Street. And with that study, we implemented the recommendation to restrict the left out through movements at Orchard Street with the development of the Gilbert Place project. In 2019, there was a pedestrian evaluation that same area of Gilbert Place between Toms Creek Road and Main Street, looking at the potential for different improvements along Prices Fork and a modified signal timing at Toms Creek to encourage the students to head towards the Toms Creek intersection to cross into campus. In 2020, we had a speed and safety study from Toms Creek Road, Stanger to North Main again. And this one explored adding flashing yellow, so that permissive yellow left. However, this was not implemented because the mast arms at that traffic signal are too short to accommodate that additional signal. So here's just a view of today of some of the recent improvements. Again, the improvements at Stanger and Toms Creek and Prices Fork Road, which included a wider pedestrian sidewalk from Webb Street to the intersection, as well as bicycle lanes and markings for bike boxes shown in the green. Also here, this is showing you what we are having today at Orchard Street with the restricted left-out movements from Gilbert Place as well as from Orchard Street. Oops, too far. Today, we are working on two two studies that will work together to give us a solution along Prices Fork Road. The first one is a traffic signal timing study. That work was originally initiated due to some of the accidents that have occurred at University City Boulevard, at West Campus Road and Prices Fork Road. And the other study that we just started is the Prices Fork Speed and Safety Study, and this will be from Old Glade to Toms Creek Road. And that is the section that has not been studied since prior to the pandemic, with the goal to reduce speed limits throughout the corridor. So this is the schedule for this study. We authorized WRA to start this study last week. During the next few weeks and in the spring of 25, we hope to finish collecting the speed data before the students leave campus. And then in the summer of 25, WRA will provide that report, again, with the recommendations from that other signal timing study to provide us with recommendations on what to do with Prices Fork Road as far as the speed limit and as far as the traffic signals are concerned. We will present those results to you in a town council meeting this summer and hope to get this done early enough in the summer that we can implement the recommendations before the students return in August. Another study that's going on now is a study that's being done by VDOT. It's affectionately called the OIP study, which is the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment Planning Study. And again, this is the one that Mark was alluding to. It's from Main Street all the way out to the village of Prices Fork to McCoy Road. And this is going to be looking at not only vehicle issues, but pedestrians and cyclists and other modes of transportation throughout the corridor. You'll notice here that there are two sections noted. This is from VDOT's slide of the presentation for this project. And this project is being it's one project, but in two separate pieces, knowing that the area within the town of Blacksburg is a significant portion of what needs to be done. It's the highest priority, is between that Toms Creek Road and Main Street. So this is the OIP planning study schedule. The first phase, which is basically the exploration, reviewing all previous studies, and just kind of brainstorming what potential future improvements could be had. Phase 2, which is going to go through November of 25, is when the VDOT will start to engage with the public and get their input on it and really explore more in detail those alternatives. And Phase 3 through August of 26 is taking those preferred alternatives and putting some opinions of probable cost to them so that potential projects can be budgeted for. Long-term recommendations for the town throughout this Prices Fork corridor are to study the impact of the redevelopment projects that are proposed throughout adjacent to Prices Fork Road, that be pedestrians, cyclists, and other modes of transportation as well as vehicles. And also, and probably more importantly, leverage the results of the VDOT OIP study for potential future funding and to provide outside-of-the-box ideas to make improvements to the transportation network, the Prices Fork corridor, that is so critical to the town. Also, I just wanted to mention to you, kind of unrelated to all this, but it's work that's going to be done by Public Works this summer, is we are going to extend the left turn lane at West Campus Drive and shorten the left turn lane into McBride, just to help with the congestion that we already see there at the West Campus Drive and Prices Fork Road intersection. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I was notified by one of our residents after our work session, Jen Million, that there was a bill at the General Assembly that would have expanded the definition of school crossing zones to include institutes of higher education. And so I had asked last time, could we have like flashing lights like in a school zone? And so that will come up again in the General Assembly. It died in committee this last year, but that might be something to have on our radar to add to that possible solutions.
And add to our legislative agenda.
Yeah.
Those are things that when we get into the OIP study, they can look at all those. Those are the out-of-the-box types of things that Carolyn's talking about, and also different ways to cross the street and things like that. There's other options out there, so we'll be looking at all those. But I think what we've got a short-term plan to do some things this summer, and we have a little bit of study we have to do that we're trying to get done really quickly before the semester ends, so we can do some things this summer, and then we have the longer-term plan with the OIP study, and that'll lead to some probably bigger, more expensive improvements that we have to work with VDOT on.
Forgive me if you spoke about it and I missed it, but the idea of a pedestrian bridge, which keeps coming up with people.
That was part of the 2019 study, and the reality is that it would not be used because it would be shorter just to go to the intersection at Toms Creek Road because of all the ramping needed for
Gotcha.
accessibility.
So in that scenario, and that sounds credible, what you're describing, in that scenario, the bridge would have been mid-block between Toms Creek and the traffic circle?
Well, yes, that's correct. It was just a concept. It really didn't go beyond, what we need to do is improve the at-grade pedestrian offerings as opposed to doing a bridge.
Thank you. Do we have council announcements tonight?
I have one. People might have seen this on Blacksburg Alert, and this is a public engagement meeting for a future new community center. And this will be held on Monday, April 28th. And so a little bit description here. The town of Blacksburg is seeking community feedback, thoughts, and ideas on a new community center facility. Citizens are invited to be part of this process. A public engagement meeting will be held, again, Monday, April 28th, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Blacksburg Community Center. And this is a first step in a very long process, and citizen feedback is hugely important. Also on Monday, April 28th, an online survey will be available on Let's Talk Blacksburg for those who prefer a virtual feedback option as opposed to in person. So again, Monday, April 28th, 5 to 7, if you want to be in person at the Blacksburg Community Center, or if you prefer, online survey will open up on that same day.
Thank you.
And I don't have an announcement, but I did get to stop by the Easter egg hunt at the park this weekend, and it was very well attended, and I realize I'm old enough now that I don't know any families with kids under 5. But it was lovely, and everyone seemed to have a good time.
I've got a quick one, too, actually, a manager announcement, and it's related to our trails up on Brush Mountain, and there's a new trail that's going to officially open this weekend called Yard Sale. That's in that Stone Cutters Hollow section of trails, and the Poverty Creek Trails Coalition, the volunteer group, has constructed it, and they're holding an event from 10 to 2 on Saturday where if you ride down the trail, I think they have some free gifts for you. So so that's exciting to have another trail open on Brush Mountain.
The trail's called Yard Sale?
Yeah, the trail's called Yard Sale.
We have to know the story behind
There's
that.
a story behind it, yeah. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
A bunch of things happening this weekend. So Saturday, Fork and Cork at Smithfield, and Sunday, the International
International Street Fair, right.
And Saturday from 9 to 11, the Blacksburg Police Department's bed building event is taking place.
Thank you. And if that's the end of council announcements, we are now adjourned and will
Your motion down here.
downstairs.
Do your motion here and then go up. Yep.
I'll do the motion. I move that we go into a closed meeting pursuant to the personnel exemption as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1 for annual discussion and evaluation of the performance of the town manager, town clerk, and town attorney.
Second.
Oh, will the clerk please call the roll?
Hager Smith,
Aye.
Mattingly,
Aye.
Sutphen,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Oliver.
Aye.
Are we going upstairs or downstairs?